How's it going, everybody? All right. So, a couple of things I'm going to start off with. Number one, if you are, let me see if we have yep, right there. So, if you are on Facebook, it's good to allow um, your comments. Well, your comments would not be allowed to be displayed um, on here. Unless you go to Facebook or StreamYard.com/Facebook and give permission. Okay. So go to StreamYard.com/Facebook and give permission for your comments to be seen. And then I'll actually be able to see the comments while we're doing the live stream. All right. And then we can see your comments, right? Like, so right now, if you were to comment and you were on Facebook, I would not see your comment come through here on this platform at all. I wouldn't see it until I went and got on Facebook under this video being streamed there and then saw your comments there. So go to StreamYard.com/Facebook to allow your comments to be seen if you're on Facebook. Now, I wanted to touch base about a recent situation that happened recently. By the way, today's my first day of testing negative from COVID. So I had it for a week, and I got the Regeneron treatment, which is the antibody treatment, because here in Florida, they've got little pop-up Regeneron shot locations everywhere, and so it's been a week, and I tested negative. Amen. Now, so I had a recent situation that I actually did a video on this topic recently, and on my ministry page on the John George Ministries Facebook page. And some local pastors who were against my ministry began to ridicule and mock and different things. And the way it all started is that an individual, hang on, let me get rid of this. Okay, an individual had posted, and for this person's privacy, I'm not gonna disclose their identity. One of the reasons is because they went to this church a while back, and everyone around them was against my ministry. They didn't believe Christians could have demons. And so this individual said that they refrained from getting deliverance because they were concerned what everybody was going to say about it, because she knew that everybody, she's not, she doesn't attend that church anymore, apparently. And so she had posted a post that said, my deceased relative is visiting me in my dreams, and somebody said that this could be demonic. What are your thoughts? And all of the comments underneath that post were Christians being like, are you kidding me? That's so amazing that he's coming back and visiting you and all these different things. He loves you, and blah blah blah. And I commented and I simply said, I'm not surprised by these comments, because this seems to be the lack of understanding with the majority of the church concerning deliverance. And so I said, but it absolutely can be demonic. And so this is when some local pastors began to come on her post and began to, mock me for saying that this poor lady needs a demon cast out of her, right? You know, the whole, um, guilt trip way that people can say things. And so they're just like, oh, John George, you're just so evil that you could say that this poor, lady would happen to need a demon cast out of her. And so, anyway, she ended up blocking me, ironically. And, well, it didn't take long, thankfully, but she just reached out to me today and unblocked me, friend requested me, and gave me her phone number and said, can you please call me? I need your help. And I messaged her back. I said, what's up? She said, I need deliverance. And I said, okay. And so I called her and I said, just come to our Tuesday service. And she said, okay, I will. She's like, but can you pray for me? Because I've really been having thoughts of not wanting to live. And I said, yes, I'm going to pray for you now. And so I took authority over. And I will tell you that when I went after the spirit that came to her in her dreams, disguised as her ex-husband, or I'm sorry, deceased husband, she began to manifest intently over the phone, where it was very audible. She immediately began to testify that she could feel things when I first started commanding things to leave her. She said her body was moving in ways that it does not move. There was these different jerks and motions that, her as she was manifesting a demon. But when I specifically went after the unclean spirit that came to her disguised as her recently deceased husband, that was when the manifestation went to another level, where it was coming out of her mouth with audible sounds. And so I'm telling you this because even the skeptics, guys, and I'm telling you this because it's like nobody's exempt from this, guys. Nobody's exempt from, believing that what people say when they teach these types of things, nobody's exempt from believing that this is a bunch of hogwash. Nobody's exempt from doubting. Nobody's exempt from being a skeptic. Nobody's exempt from the different things that go along with. But let me tell you something. She testifies that she would have reached out years ago had she not been surrounded by a bunch of mockers. And I'm not being mean or nasty. They were literally mocking. And so scriptures talks about do not sit in the seat of mockers, right? And so, well, anyway, that's the reason. You do not want to be surrounded by a company of people, right? Why? Because it'll prevent you from doing the right thing when it's time, especially if you give in to that peer pressure. And so anyhow, this happens quite a bit. It's interesting that today is the 2-year anniversary of me being in the Czech Republic. Today is the 2-year anniversary of me being in the Czech Republic. And what's interesting about this is that was the exact testimony that I shared with her on her Facebook post right before she blocked me, trying to share how this stuff works. And there was this woman in the Czech Republic, and as I was ministering to her, the Lord gave me the impression of being visited by your ancestors, by your deceased relatives. And I didn't know necessarily if it was for the woman I was praying for or if it was for somebody else in the room. during that service that I was ministering at. So I stopped ministering to this one lady, and I said, ladies and gentlemen, um, if you're being visited in your sleep by your deceased relatives, this can be the way that demons uh, visit you. It's a familiar spirit, and they come disguised as someone you know. And I said, if you are experiencing this, I want you to raise your hand. Sure enough, the woman that I was standing over, that I just interrupted because I got this impression, raised her hand. And so her husband had passed away 3 years ago, and he was still visiting her in her dreams, and she was still dealing with just intense grief. And so when I began to break this off of her life, he stopped visiting her, and her grief disappeared. And I shared this testimony recently, and I've also shared uh, another one that just happened recently where this young lady came to our service. Her son has just beaten cancer. He had treatments, and somebody close to her was a Christian and began to tell her the authority that we have as believers, and she began to take authority over um, the cancer as her son was getting treatment where it wasn't working before, and all of a sudden the treatment began to help. And so he's cancer free, but she's scared of it coming back. And then as I began to share this in that service, okay, um, uh, she freaks out and was like, wait a minute. She's like, that's so crazy that you're talking about this, because both of my grandparents on my mother's side are the two relatives that visit me in the night, and both of them died of cancer. And they're the only two that visit me, and now my son has battled cancer. So imagine if we took these teachings to heart and accepted the truth that the Lord is revealing. Imagine what type of breakthrough we could have if we began to take authority over those familiar spirits that are trying to pass down the bloodline, or to anybody for that matter. So anyhow, when you get visited by unclean spirits in your sleep, in your dreams, by relatives in your dreams, it could very well be not your relative, but rather a spirit that may have been attached to them. Okay? Bless you guys.